I'm Rod. Thanks for watching. Well, it's been about 2 years since I made a video. I just got burnt out on making guitars. I know I can make a guitar, and I just couldn't come up with anything else I really wanted to make a video on, so I just kind of disappeared for a while. But I still use my CNC. I still make reliefs, and I make little boxes for friends and relatives and stuff like that. And I was flipping through YouTube one day, and about 3 weeks ago actually, and I found a video of a guy doing photo V-carves. That's where you take your 60-degree V-carve bit and you carve lines in wood, you spray paint it black, you sand it, and then the image is on there. And I thought it was really, really neat, and I wanted to try it. And I did in some wood. They didn't turn out all that great. So I went back to YouTube to get more information. And I found a guy that's doing photo V-carves in epoxy. I said, that is what I want to do. I want to give that a shot. I like working with epoxy. So that's what I did. And here's the first one. This is Heath Ledger as the Joker. Now this is technically my second one because the first one did not turn out really good. And I'll explain that later when we get there. And I did that one. And then my second one is Brandon Lee as the Crow. Now this is one of my best ones. I've got 2 or 3 more in the house, but this is one of my best ones. And I've got it on 3/4 inch MDF as a backing, so you can screw something on the back, hang it on the wall. Well, today I'm going to do this picture right here, this Native American Indian. I like this picture because it's got a lot of contrast in it. There's different shades of black and white and all that, so I want to see how close I can get it to photo V-carve in epoxy, and we are going to use 3/4 inch MDF to do it on. And the main problem that I had when I was doing this was, how do I make the slab of white epoxy? Well, I figured that out, and I'm going to show you how I did that, and then V-carve it in there. Now, this is not by no means a tutorial video. I'm not trying to show you how to do it or tell you how to do it. I'm just showing you how I did it, because there are guys out there that can do it a whole lot better than me, that do it to make money, and they just know more than I do. So if one of you guys see this and there's something I'm not doing or something I could do better, please leave it in the comments, because I would, I really like doing this. It's really satisfying to see it come out when you get to that point. And also, any of the products that you hear me mention while I'm making this video, I am not sponsored by none of them. I'm just telling you what I use. I don't care if you use them or not. It's just what I use. So let me get everything set up and we'll get started. Okay, I've got my picture in V-carve. You can do this in Carve Code, but it's a whole lot easier V-carve. And my model, or my blank up here, my MDF, is 24 by 18. I'm cutting out a pocket in my MDF of 15 by 22. My picture is actually going to be like 16 by 20, because I'm going to make a 1-inch white border around it, and there's a reason for that, and when I get to it I'll show you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over and get into my G-Center, and then we're going to send it over and we're going to mill out the pocket in this. That's how we're going to get our white epoxy slab. So you really don't need to go make something out of plywood or a plexiglass or something. Just get 3/4 inch MDF, cut you a pocket 1 inch bigger than the image that you're going to do, which will leave you a white border around it, and just carve the pocket in there and pour it in there, because you really want to me anyway, you really want a backing on that anyway, so you can screw a hanger or something so you can hang it on the wall. You don't want to screw it into the epoxy, risk cracking it, drilling a hole all the way through it. You can hang it up, and it makes it a little bit more durable. So I'm going to get into G-Center, we're going to hit start, and we're going to carve the pocket. Okay, I got my pocket cut. It took 2 hours and 50 minutes, but it's a 1/4 inch deep. Now, I've never cut in a pocket like this for this. This is the first time I've done it. What I normally do before you get on the comments is say, hey, Rodney, you could have done it this way. It wouldn't have took me 15 minutes. What I normally do is I take and cut my MDF about 1 inch to 1.5 inches bigger than the image I'm wanting to V-carve. And then I'll take some strips of wood like this, and I'll cut it about 1/4 inch wider than what my MDF is thick. And then when I nail it to the side or glue it to the side, I brad nailed mine to the side. It's a 1/4 inch taller. You put a little caulk on the edges to make sure none of the resin leaks out, and there you go. It takes about 15 minutes. It's a whole lot easier, and I'll probably do that from now on, unless it's a smaller piece. If this one was too big, I should have did that to begin with, but if it's a smaller piece, I'll probably just create a pocket. But this works really well too if you just put that on. But you got to be careful though, because if you don't make your MDF wide enough, or your picture small enough, or your image small enough, what have you, because this is what happened on this one. I used like a 3/4 inch or a 1/2 inch finish nail, and when I went to cut it out, my end mill hit the nail, and didn't hurt the end mill, but it hit it. So yeah, you can do it that way too. So let me get my epoxy resin set up, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I use to mix the epoxy. Okay, the epoxy resin I use is Total Boat. I've tried all well, not all of them, a few of the cheaper brands on Amazon. You know, this is a 2-gallon kit, which is 1 gallon of each, part A and part B. I've tried the cheaper stuff off of Amazon several times, different types, and it seems like it takes a lot longer to dry. The last batch that I bought, I think I bought a 2-gallon kit. It cost me like $45, and it took almost a day and a half for it to dry enough to where I could mill it. I mean, after a day, it was still kind of spongy. It wasn't hard. So I use Total Boat. The 2-gallon kit that I got on Amazon is like $100. It's $99 plus tax, like $109, but it's worth it, and it dries hard. Overnight, it's good to go the next day to carve it, do whatever you want with it. What I use to tin it, I bought this last year. I was trying to teach myself how to pinstripe, and that didn't work out. That's a different story. Anyway, it's Custom Shop Easy Flow. It's white. Now you can use pigment powders, but I found I've done all kinds of epoxy resin stuff, and I found that most of the pigment powders are kind of opaque, especially the black, and we'll get into that when we get to the black. But this needs to be white. It needs white, white, white. Some of the times you can mix up the mica powder's white and mix it up, and when you pick up your stick, you can still see the stick up under it. With this stuff, when you mix it and you look at it from your stick, you can't see the stick. I mean, it's white. You can't see through it, and that's the problem with epoxy powders. You can still kind of see through it. So anyway, I'm going to mix up some of this. I'm not going to film it. You've seen it before. I'll come back when I go to put the paint in it and mix it up and show you what I'm talking about. So let me get this mixed up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got it kind of mixed up anyway. So if you're going to ask, well, how much paint do you put in it? About that much. I mean, just put some in it. If it's not white enough, put more in it and just mix it up. And I'm going to show you here, once I get it here, what I'm talking about. You pick it up, you can't see the stick through it. I mean, that's like white, and that's what you want. You don't want it opaque. I mean, it's going to be white, but it's going to be white in the cup with the epoxy powder. But when you put it on the board and it starts to lay out and thin out, then you can see through it. So with the mica powder, when you put it on here, you're going to be able to see the wood through it. Well, I mean, you're going to have to put several, and eventually it would darken up, but I just prefer to use just paint, just acrylic paint, model paint, airbrush paint, whatever, and do that. Now, I'm using these little bitty cups. This is only a 10-ounce cup. I'm going to have to put about 30 to 40 ounces of resin in there to fill it up high enough to where I can mill something out. And the good thing about that is once you do all the carving and you put the black on it and you go to shave it down, and I'll talk about that when we get there, is that if you shave it down too much, well, you got to start over. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and re-pour the whole thing, because it's a 1/4 inch thick. Now you're going to go over it before you carve it and plane it out, and I'm only going to go down like 0.05, and it's at 1/4 inch, so that leaves me 0.2. And then I'm going to go down maybe 0.5, that leaves me 0.15. If I have to do it again, I have enough epoxy on there to shave off what I screwed up and just do it one more time. So you can get at least 2 cuts out of it if you were to mess up the first one. So let me move the camera and we'll pour this on. You're going to need a squeegee. And just pour it on. if you take this first coat and run it all the way around, and I'll tell you why, is because when you pour the next cup on, it will flow easier if there's already resin on it. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, you need to make sure that it is level. And I did check this level before I turned the camera on. I meant to do it again and I forgot. Okay, I got the epoxy poured on it, and that took 40 ounces. I only have them little small cups, and I can only do 10 ounces at a time. There's some little bit of trash in here. I got to change my spool board anyway, so I'm just going to put it on my spool board. And just take a toothpick and get it out. I mean, it really doesn't matter anyway because you're going to be carving it. But I'm OCD. I don't want crap in my epoxy. Okay, now you got your epoxy poured. Take your torch and get your bubbles out. I would just let it sit there for 5 or 10 minutes and then come back, hit it again, let the bubbles come up from the bottom, and then you're good to go. Well, it's the next morning. It's about 5:30 the next morning, but my epoxy is dry. We're ready to go ahead and surface plane the top of the epoxy to make sure everything is level for when we do the V-carve. Now, what I did was, as I went ahead and zeroed out my end mill, I'm using a 1/4 inch end mill, and I zeroed it out on the MDF. Now the epoxy is just slightly lower than the edge of the MDF, so I've got this set to go down to about 0.08 because I just want to take off enough of this epoxy up here. I don't want to go really deep, just to level it out, and then we'll come back and we will do the V-carve. And I'm going to start this up, and then while that is cutting, I'm going to go over to Vectric and I'm going to show you what I did with my image. Now, I'm just learning Vectric, and I say that in this little clip I'm going to show you. I'm just going to show you what I do. And again, if anybody out there that does this a lot better than me, just leave it in a comment. Any mistakes I'm making or something I'm not thinking about, leave it in the comments. So I'm going to get this started, and we'll go take a look at my model in Vectric. Okay, well, I'm just now learning how to use Vectric and do the photo V-carves, but I just wanted to show you on Vectric what I've been doing, and maybe somebody that knows more than I do about doing this can help me out, because this is the best I can get this. Right over here is your max carve depth. I've got it set at 0.085, and when I do this on wood, or what I start out, when I start tweaking everything, is a 0.042 or 0.05, and I do a step over of 0.1, and that's my base where I start, and then I start tweaking it from there. And I have my line density of spacing at 95%. What I like to do is I'll go to the 2D view and I'll look at it, and I'll look at the shading over everything, his cheeks and the shadows on his under his jaw, and then I go back and look at the model, and you can see we got some lighting here, we got some shading under his chin, and it's not exactly perfect, and I don't expect it to be perfect because we're cutting this in lines. It's not going to look like an HD picture. So that's how I do it. Like, again, anybody out there that does this all the time, knows a lot more than me, you can comment and say, hey, you know, just give me an idea of what I can do to make this look better. But we're going to go ahead and go with this, and we're going to go over here and carve it out and see what it looks like. Okay, I've got everything ready. I've got the epoxy all planed out, its level. My spindle is already set for X and Y 0. It's been that way, I haven't changed it. Now I need to set the Z axis to 0 at the level of the epoxy, and I've already done that. I put my Auto Z on it, leveled that out, and I'm using a 45-degree bit on this one. When I was doing the model in Vectric, I just couldn't get a good image with the 60, so I went to a 45, and to me, it looked better with the 45, so that's what we're going to do. I just need to load up the G-code, hit start, carve it out. Okay, it's done. Everything is cut out. Now that took about an hour and a half. I did have it set on high resolution. It takes longer. You can do standard resolution. It probably took about 45 minutes, but I want to get the best resolution I can. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to take my wire brush and I'm going to run it all over it to get any of the powder or anything from when it was milled out off, and take an air hose, blow it off. But you got to do the whole thing to make sure all the grooves are clean when you put the black epoxy on it. And it'll take a few minutes and blow it off, and then I'll show you what I do after that. The next step, it's either if you want to or you don't, but I'll show you what I do and why I do it, and you choose if you want to do it yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up with a wire brush. We'll come back and we'll go to the next step. Okay, I've got everything clean. There's no dust in the cut lines or anything. And what I do now is I'll spray this whole thing with black paint, just like you would if you're doing a piece of wood. And I do this for two reasons. The first reason is if you're using like a mica powder, epoxy powder, mica powder, and it's kind of opaque. I mentioned that before. And black doesn't really get black, dark black. It is kind of opaque. So when you put the epoxy resin with the mica powder in it and you thin it out, you're going to be able to see the white through it. So when you shave it off, it's going to be thin and it won't be dark. So that's why I use black paint. So if you're going to use the mica powder, spray paint it black. That way, if any of it is opaque or thin, it'll be really dark instead of seeing the white through the bottom of it. And the second reason I'll show you after I paint it. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this black real quick. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and then we will put the black epoxy on it. But I'm going to change the camera angle, and I'll show you the second reason why I like to spray black paint on it. Okay, here's why I like to spray black paint on it. If you look at an angle with the black paint, you can kind of see what the image is going to look like when you shave off the epoxy once you put the black epoxy on it. So you get an idea of what it should look like. And there's a good shot right there. Okay, I'm going to put the black epoxy on it, and I use the same custom shop Easy Flow triple black. This is pinstripe paint. I just happen to have this. I mean, I wouldn't get it. It's like $20 a bottle, but it's all I had, and I like it better than I like the mica powder. So we're going to use this. I only mixed up about 8 ounces because all we need to do is just spread it over the top. I might have to mix a little bit more. I was going to do 10 ounces, but this is all I had left in the kit that I had. So we're going to pour this on and spread it out. Now I want to go over a little bit with the torch to get the bubbles out and help it to flow out and even out a little bit more. Well, I'm going to let that sit there for a few minutes. I'll come back and I'll hit it again with the torch, and I may or may not put about another 2 or 3 ounces of epoxy resin on it. I'm going to let that sit there a minute and then we'll find out. Well, I had to come back and put in about another 6 ounces on it. I wanted everything nice and level and full. I didn't want to see any of the cut lines. I went over it with a torch, popped all the bubbles. Just need to wait till tomorrow and we'll shave it off. All right, it's the next morning and my epoxy is dry. The black epoxy, we're going to shave it off. And this right here is a picture of my Heath Ledger as the Joker, the very first one I did. And you can see that I shaved it way too deep. And I also used mica powder. It wasn't, you know, like I said, opaque. You could see through it a little bit, but it's cut way too deep. So what did I do to solve that problem? This is what I did. Right or wrong, it works for me. It might work for you. The G-code that we used to level off the white epoxy before the V-carve, that's what I've got in my computer right now. Originally I was going 0.05, but it wasn't deep enough. I was getting some spots where the bit wasn't hitting, so I went down to 0.15. So I know when I start this, it's going to go to the corner. It's only going to go down to the very top of that white epoxy. Now this is also why you want a wide border, because you can watch it, and when it goes down, it's going to go a couple times before it gets to the image, and you can see if it is shaving off the black off the top of that white epoxy. If not, stop it, re-zero it. And what I did is I went into my G-Sender settings and I went to the jog settings and I went to precision and I set the precision setting for the Z-axis to 0.001 per click. Now, if it's not deep enough, go back and drop your spindle to 0. You might have to move it over off your material to the side a little bit. I drop it to 0 and then I click it one time. That's 0.001. And then I re-zero it and do it again and see if it shaves off the black. If it doesn't, I'll stop it and I'll redo it. I would rather do that for 15 minutes than set it too deep and ruin my picture. So I'll do the 0.15. If it doesn't get the black off the edge, then I'll go back, drop it 0.001. I might go 0.002. 2 clicks, try it again until I can get to where it's just shaving off the black off that white border. Once I get that, I just let it run and it should be just deep enough to reveal the picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run this, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like on this corner before I make any adjustments. Okay, here is the corner. It's still in the white border, and you can see I can barely see some white right there, so it needs to go down a little bit further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to readjust my Z, and I'm going to drop it down 2 clicks. It's going to be 0.002. I'm going to redo it. We'll come back and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I've got it set. You can see that it's just barely shaving off the black on the white epoxy, and I hit the wrong button and dropped the Z a little bit and made a little hole, but that's no big deal. I can fill that up. So I'm going to start shaving this off and we can see what the image looks like. Here we go. Now, I guess the next thing you want to know is sanding. How do you sand it? Well, you take your sander and you put it back in your tool cabinet because you don't need it. No sanding whatsoever, none at all. I hate sanding, no sanding doing this. So let me get everything fixed up. We'll come back and I'll show you what I mean. No, you don't have to sand this. Well, depends on how you do it. If you're going to spray this down with like a lacquer, a spray lacquer, yes, you're going to have to sand it down because you're going to be able to see the cut marks from the end mill. But if you put a thin layer of clear epoxy over the top of it, you don't have to sand anything because that clear epoxy is going to fill up all those little cut marks and they're just going to disappear like they were never there. The only thing that you might want to sand is after you cut out the profile is you might want to sand the edges, because when I cut it out, I'm going to take and paint the edges black, make it look like a frame. So I'm going to change the camera angle, fix up my epoxy, and we're going to pour it on. Okay, what I like to do is I like to take a rag with some denatured alcohol and I will wipe it down to get all the dust off of it. Then I will take a tack cloth, like you use in automotive paint, and get any dust off of it, because you don't want no trash in it, because you're going to put clear epoxy on it. All right, now we can pour the clear epoxy on it. Whoop. I got one little piece right there. So make sure you ain't got no trash in it, because once the epoxy dries, you got a piece of trash on his face or something. Well, I'm going to mix up about another 5 ounces of epoxy, pour it on there, and then once I get it poured, we'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like all poured. Okay, I got the epoxy poured. That looks pretty good. The only spot I got in it is right here. You can see where I hit the down Z button and went into the epoxy a little bit. But the good thing is it's in the white border that I put on there. So when I cut this out on the profile, I'll just cut the profile just slightly inside the image and it will eliminate it. So that's the reason for the border. So anyway, we need to let this dry until tomorrow, and we can come back, cut the profile out, and it'll be done. So we'll come back tomorrow and we'll do that. Well, it's the next day and I went ahead and cut out the profile, and there we go. And I think it turned out pretty good. Could it be better? Yeah, it could be better. It could always be better. So I'm going to put up a picture of the original image and this one, and we'll compare the two. Well, here's a comparison with the original image and my V-carve. And my V-carve, it doesn't look bad. I mean, I've only been doing this for 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, a month or something like that, and I think it turned out pretty good. I mean, I sat down at my computer for, I know, over an hour, almost 2 hours, tweaking everything, trying to get it just right. And it all depends on the image and what the numbers are. And you just got to sit there and tweak it until you get it looking right. Eventually, I just got tired of tweaking. I said, that's fine, that's it. Let's just do it and see what happens. And what I used was a 45-degree V-bit at a 0.085 cut depth, a 0.11 step over, and a 95% line spacing. And it turned out pretty good. I'll get better as I do it and tweak it and learn how to do it, as I know there's guys out there that do this for a living. They do it a lot better than me. And if you're one of those guys and there's something that I'm not doing or something that I should be doing, let me know. I would like to get better at it. And you know, you got to learn somewhere. But I hope you enjoy the video. Like I said, it's just, this video was just me just doing what I've learned in the past 3 weeks. This is how I do it, and I will tweak that as I go along. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like and subscribe button if you want. No big deal if you don't. And remember, you have to be willing to fail to succeed. I appreciate you watching. We'll holler at you later.